Welcome back, guys, to what essentially is the last episode of the year, and what a way to end it with the last two episodes of The Mandalorian, and also it's basically our season recap. And,
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we're gonna go full spoilers, right?
And just say fuck it, and just go full spoilers for each one.
Like it's not like we're gonna make a spoiler, like a spoiler episode, for the last episode.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, by that point, you already watched the whole thing.
Yeah. So
Why not?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm down for it. I'm just making sure we're all in agreement about that.
I mean, I don't know. I feel that makes sense to me.
I mean, yeah, sure. So let's start off with talking about the second to last episode, which is essentially Mando having to get Bill Burr's character, whose name escapes me.
Yeah, it escapes me too. It's like they mentioned it in like the beginning of the episode, but I don't.
It's a sci-fi name. It just I was never really good with remembering most of those.
Yeah.
Unless they're like really memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Or something very mundane like Luke Skywalker. But yeah, so essentially the mission is they have to go find out information and go to this one spot that only he can go in because Bill Burr's character was a part of the Empire.
Yeah.
This is defected.
Yeah.
And we get to learn a lot about the character of Bill Burr's character, as well as a little bit more about Mando and how he's willing to not break the law of not break the code, but willing to bend it as it will.
Yeah. It's very interesting, just how deep we get into Bill Burr's character. And, like the situation is obviously sort of tense for Mando because he's got to get Grogu back.
Grogu.
Listen. I vaguely, got his name right the first time. I haven't called him Baby Yoda yet.
Yeah.
So, we get to that bridge when we get to that bridge.
Yeah, we get to that bridge when we get to that bridge. So, I'll say this. These last two episodes, especially this one, and especially the next, these are great character moment episodes, and these pretty much summed up what I feel is probably the best show Star Wars has made in a long time.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that sentiment. I mean, obviously, like this episode still has a lot of like crazy action because we're blowing up Imperial stuff.
Mm-hmm. But also some deep cuts.
Yeah, there's definitely some deep cuts. Like you just finished telling me that the backstory that Bill Burr's character sort of gives during his talk with the Imperial officer is like a connection to the Battlefront storyline from Battlefront 2, like the recent one.
Yeah,
which I'm just like, I didn't even know that. Like, what?
Yeah, that's some deep cut. Like, if you don't play like any of the games, you're like, I didn't even notice that. But then I realized Operation Cinder. That sounds familiar, and I haven't played the whole game. I just know about the story mode because like sometimes I'm one of those guys that like I don't feel like playing that game. I'm just gonna watch the whole cutscenes.
Yeah,
that's basically what I did.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Operation Cinder, that's cool. And it pretty much sums up. And this later goes on into the next episode too, where essentially it sets up how Palpatine was able to establish the First Order and how he came to rise to power. And basically, if you think about the stuff that's going on with Grogu, that's like, oh, so that's why he's still alive, or that's how he's able to like stay in power.
Yeah. Obviously, like there's like little hints to that stuff, especially in this season, that like might lead to like this. Is it supposed to help explain like the like the reason why Palpatine shows up in episode 9 and like some of that stuff, which I definitely do think that is like super interesting that we get that information in this show. I mean, obviously, like I think even back in the first season where Grogu does a little bit of like force healing, at the same time, like the week of when episode 9 came out, and we see Rey just using a shit ton of force healing. So I'm assuming that
it's going out of style.
Yeah, like it's essentially there to help make that connection, as far as I'm aware. they're definitely doing their best to like sort of string along these various sort of connections ever since the first season.
Yeah, and that's something I really enjoyed, especially since it told us more about the world. And one thing that I was always interested in is what happened after the fall of the Empire. Well, technically, it's not a fall; it's more like, just the gradual descent and what we eventually will get to eventually the First Order, because that's the whole point of that story that the Imperial officer says. We did it just to make them fall in line. And that really affected Bill Burr's character, because both him and the in-game character that you play in the story mode for Battlefront 2, they're both horrified at the events that were to come. Surprisingly enough, you weren't horrified enough for Aldron, but sure.
I mean, yeah, that's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm. It's oh, where are the bad guys?
Are we the baddies? Yeah. So it is sort of like an interesting lore episode, but also does have a nice bit of action. We get to see.
I would say it's not even that deep of a lore cut, but it's more like just a little nod to the fans that have been following throughout this new universe that they've been expanding on.
Yeah. I mean, and besides that, we still get a good amount of fan service. Boba uses the Slave One little, I forget the name of it, but it's the same thing Django used when he was trying to evade Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones.
Oh shit! I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, see, yeah, because I was like, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of reminds me of something, and I actually went back to look at it up. And I'm like, oh right, because he did do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's super neat, right?
Mm-hmm.
They still give you those bits of fan service, but it's not super in your face about it, like the last time we talked about it, right? With Ahsoka and stuff.
Yeah, but it's fan service, but it's not in your face. And thankfully, that's what I like about it. I will say one of the best things about this is that there's a great use of tension, but also in terms of the story, it kind of shows you and kind of why Bill Burr's character kind of left the Empire, because he was basically tired of seeing all the bad stuff. And yeah, we mentioned it earlier with Operation Cinder, but also because the whole point is that they're in disguise, and they do it by transferring certain things to a certain area, and we see sort of the after effect of such things, like they're screwing people's lives.
Yeah, and he's very sort of that's just how. I mean, he's sort of Bill Burr's character has always been cynical. Mm-hmm. So when the line he says where he's talking about New Republic, Empire, doesn't matter. These people don't like anybody,
Mm-hmm.
They just
and yet even he has a limit.
Yeah. It's super interesting, right? He has a bit of a limit himself. It kind of reminds me, he's obviously not a perfect person,
mm-hmm.
right? Because obviously last season he tried to set up Mando.
He was a complete and total ass.
Yeah, but he still has a sense of okay, this is too far.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it's interesting seeing that from a character,
especially a bounty hunter.
Yeah, especially a bounty hunter, right?
Because they're supposed to be ruthless, cutthroat.
Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of interesting and puts into perspective when he says you and me, Mando, we're kind of we're alike, right?
Yeah.
And obviously Mando's no, we're nothing alike, man.
But you realize even he isn't willing to go too far.
Yeah, it's very very interesting take.
You know what it reminds me of, and this is a little off tangent, but it reminds me of Red Dead 2, where your caravan of outlaws, murderers, and thieves, but the one thing you don't do is you don't hurt the kid.
Yeah. It's sort of a honor among thieves kind of thing, right? Yeah. Where there's just certain things you're not supposed to do, and yeah, in Red Dead 2, you obviously see a lot of stuff like that, and of course, that's the whole point of the story, right? Or Arthur and some of the other guys don't like the way Dutch is kind of slowly descending into madness.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's a good take. That's a good take.
Yeah. And I'll say this, as much as I love this episode, they did the one sin I really didn't like about in the last season. They did it not only here but also in the last episode. By last episode, I mean the season finale. It's where like you keep showing me Mando's face. I don't want to see Pedro Pascal's face. He's a good-looking man, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, I don't want to see his face. It takes me out of it because once I see it, I'm like, oh, that's Oberyn Martell. That before he got his head crushed in on Game of Thrones.
I mean, I don't have that. I don't have that sense of attachment because I didn't watch Game of Thrones, but I get what you mean because it is sort of like it feels taboo because Mando sort of made it taboo, right? He's always like the mask doesn't come off or whatever.
The helmet doesn't come off.
Yeah, and obviously he sort of kind of has to break it because he's the one that has to like dress up as a stormtrooper.
Yeah, and you knew it was coming, but I was like, I personally like I don't mind if he takes it off for story reason wise, like he did in this one, and he does in the next episode. But for us, the audience, I'd rather you like do some camera trickery, where like we don't see his head, like we see the back of his head or something, and like and whenever the shot, because there's a shot where it's him, Bill Burr, and the Imperial officer, and we keep cutting to his face because like we have to see, his reaction be like all tense and stuff like. Because he's got the, like, don't do it, bro. Don't do it, bro. Eyes. Like, instead of doing that, just let it be Bill Burr and that one guy, and we just don't focus on his face. Some cool camera trickery. I'm like, damn, you not only did you follow that code, but you also did it within the film. That's awesome. That's personally me.
I mean, yeah, no, I get it, and it's just sort of more of I think it's just a stylistic choice. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I definitely understand. I don't have as much attachment to it, I guess, just because it's just I don't know. When it happens, I guess for me,
yeah,
it's sort of like this is like kind of a serious moment or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like things are about to get a little dicey because mm-hmm. It feels like for Mando when the helmet comes off, then kind of like anything can happen, mm-hmm. and yeah, obviously like it goes from a super tense situation. In this episode because one, like Mando's stuck talking. Mando and Bill Burr's characters are stuck talking to this Imperial officer, and as the conversation goes intense, and Bill Burr is like, "I'm gonna fucking kill this guy, man." He's like, Mando's like, "Don't do it. We gotta get out of here."
And I know it seems like we're just talking about like the situation with these three characters because that was the main focus. It's just these three. Well, more like Bill Burr and Mando's story.
Yeah.
Because like everything else is just it's more like cool action. Setting up for the last episode and all that kind of stuff. And really, I can't say anything really bad about it. I can't say anything more about it. I think this is probably one of their best episodes. And like at the end, we'll probably talk about why our thoughts on, like I said, the season as a general. But yeah, this is probably like at least a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. Like it is a very good episode. Obviously there's lots of good like action involving everybody. Especially, I think the pirates trying to destroy the convoy was kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. But yeah, obviously the main focus is Mando and Bill Burr's character, and just seeing that dynamic like evolve, mm-hmm. super interesting. And obviously, I think that's sort of the main focal point of the episode.
And not only that, it's also the just how much the Empire has affected everyone's lives, and like just how far they're willing to go, and how far is one person willing to go. Mm-hmm. Mando is willing to take off his mask to prove the point to help with the mission, and Bill Burr has a breaking point where he's like, I can't keep doing this. Hence why he shot the Imperial officer. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, it's a really great episode. So obviously now that we talked about that, we gotta go to the last episode. Last episode, we go into Save Grogu moment, and before we do that, we have an interesting conversation between Bo-Katan and Mando, which also includes Bo-Katan's right-hand lady and good old Boba Fett.
Yeah, it's a very interesting moment because
it's if you didn't know Boba is not a Mandalorian.
Yeah, like, and they obviously are like, you know, they obviously don't see him as such anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, knowing just how sort of the more interesting backstory for Boba now, because his father Jango was a foundling.
Mm-hmm.
So under that law, he essentially is kind of a Mandalorian, right?
Kind of.
Yeah, and obviously they have a bit of a scuffle because Bo-Katan sort of reveals her whole thing of like wanting to get the Darksaber in order to essentially
reclaim Mandalore.
Yeah, and Boa's like, that's stupid. Why would you do that? It's like
it's gone.
Yeah,
it's been glassed.
Yeah,
and if you're a Halo fan, you know what that means.
Yeah, they burned that planet pretty good,
pretty damn good.
And then there's like a little bit of a scuffle, a tiny fight. With Boba Fett and Bo-Katan's like right hand lady, which is like, you know, it's kind of interesting because you get to see like just these two different styles of like, I guess, Mandalorians fighting.
Yeah, and not only that, they recognize that, you know, like we said earlier, Boba is not a real considered Mandalorian because he's a clone. Yeah,
Bo-Katan does mention that. We're like, because again, like, knowing Boba's backstory, that Jango Fett was the template for all the clones during the Clone Wars, including Boba. So, you know, so obviously, like, I mean, they even use the original. They use the actor from the original trilogy that played Jango, who's playing Boba now.
You mean the sequel? You mean the prequel trilogy?
Yeah, I mean the prequel trilogy.
Because that guy just passed away.
Yeah. That guy definitely just
He just recently passed away by the time of recording.
Yeah. So you know, it's a nice little touch there, and obviously, you know, not a lot of good blood between I'm assuming the Mandalorians and the clone troopers.
No, because they have to go to war against each other.
Yeah.
Even Bo-Katan's like, I heard your voice like 1,000 times. Like, I know you, you goddamn clone. At this point, it's like, at some point, I was waiting for her to say like some kind of clone racial slur up, and I was like, we ain't gonna get that.
Is there a slur for clones?
No belly button.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, it just seems a little odd.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically the end goal is that Mando recruits Bo-Katan because he's like, I know where Moff Gideon is, and I need your help to get the kid. And Bo-Katan's like, he has something that I want, and I'm gonna get it from him, and don't get in my way. And it's like, listen, as long as I get the kid, you can do whatever you want to him.
Yeah, that's all I need. And essentially, it becomes like a rescue mission, and all that. And basically, they split into two teams: the all-female team and Mando.
I mean, yeah, because Boba essentially is a distraction plot, and to come back and pick them up whenever they're done. Because and of course, you know, like we get into a pretty good diversion sequence. The crew lands in, and it's, you know, the all female crew.
What a power girl move!
I mean, yeah, you got Ming-Long Wen, you got
Gina Carano.
Yeah, you got Bo-Katan, and you got the other Mandalorian girl, all sort of just like blasting through stuff, and then you got Mando who goes straight for the kid.
He's like, just gonna be a good dad. He's gonna walk in, pick up my kid. I'm gonna let the ladies do their thing.
Yeah, and obviously things don't go as well as planned because
it never does.
Yeah, Mando obviously has to face off against a Dark Trooper,
which we established that they're basically just droids.
Yeah, they're droids.
I'll say this: their design, badass. Love it.
Yeah, it's really cool, and the theme.
I was like, is Skrillex here?
Yeah, like,
where's Skrillex?
The theme they use for the Dark Troopers is so freaking good.
Oh, but like, and just because eventually we get into a fight sequence with Mando and one of the Dark Troopers, and it is like not scary movie horrifying, but it is horrifying.
It's on the level of a Terminator.
Oh yeah,
basically.
Just the moment where like one of them is on fire, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking cool as hell.
It gets a little comedic too.
Yeah, because obviously, like Mando's wearing Beskar, which protects him, but like obviously the Dark Trooper is a droid, so he just constantly just punches him in the helmet.
I'll say this: there's a moment where you just can't help with that, especially since Mando's carrying a spear. You can't help but go back to this for all the Game of Thrones fans out there. You can't help but think of the Mountain versus the Viper episode where the actor who plays Mando was fighting this big dude in like huge suit of armor with a spear, only get his head crushed in.
I mean, that's a reference to Game of Thrones fans, maybe. But yeah, no, that's yeah. I mean, he manages to beat him, but it like clearly he's facing off a.
It's that moment in in role playing games or JRPGs where you fight you fight an enemy that you think you can take, but you end up using a lot of your stuff, and you're like, oh crap, I just wasted my like all my items.
Yeah,
all my goods to it.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah, and so Mando sort of gets rid of the rest of them by opening the airlocks, and they all get sucked out. And he's able to get to Grogu, but Moff Gideon is there.
And I knew this was gonna go down because he was gonna offer him like Grogu, and I'm like, it's not gonna go that one way. I bet I was actually gonna give him like a huge one up if like Gideon's like, yeah, just take him. I got what I need. Let's go.
Yeah. Obviously, he does say that. It's like, I only needed his blood. I mean, you can go, and if you want the kid, and he's like, all I want is the kid, then just leave, all right? And obviously, he doesn't go that way because Moff Gideon is like, I'm gonna kill you.
But okay, I'll talk about this later. But yeah, no, they have a fight with Gideon and his Darksaber and the Beskar spear, and it's a good fight.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid, all around good like hand-to-hand fight, and eventually Mando's able to beat him, and he has him cuffed and brings him to the bridge to Bo-Katan, and in the middle of that, Moff Gideon is like,
this was part of my plan the whole time.
Yeah, he was he's like, I guess he was playing 4D chess while everybody was playing checkers. He's like, no, see, now that you beat me, you have the claim to the throne of Mandalore, because that's the whole Darksaber's backstory, basically. And Bo-Katan, obviously wants the Darksaber, and while Mando's like, I don't care, just take the Darksaber, Moff like, no, you must fight for it.
And it's like, and the whole time you're like thinking, yeah, why don't you just take it? Who cares? You can just lie about it. That's like their whole honor code. They are a warrior race.
Yeah, and like Bo-Katan is like, he's right. I mean, I have to fight you for it. And it's like, but there's not enough time for that because the Dark Troopers that Mando got rid of, they can fly. If you remember from the episode, where
Grogu kidnapped.
Yeah, where Grogu gets kidnapped, they can fly and they fly back into the ship, and it's like they're all essentially they all bunker up in the
station.
Yeah, they all bunker. Yeah, they all bunker up on the bridge, and essentially are having to face like at least 15, 20 of these Dark Troopers.
Well, it's a whole platoon.
It's a whole platoon, so they obviously are like, this might be the end, and they all like, there's a bunch of them coming to the door.
And the whole time, Moff Gideon's like just talking shit.
Yeah, he's like, you're all gonna die except for me and the kid, And they're just starting to break down the doors by just punching
because they're droids.
Yeah, because they're droids, obviously.
I mean, I'll say this: it just the level of tension that's there, and it's so good because you're like, well, this could be it.
Yeah,
this could be it.
Yeah, but then an X-wing shows up,
and I have a problem. I have a personal beef with this, but yeah, continue.
Okay, so an X-wing shows up, and everyone's like, "One X-wing? Who is that?" And then they start, seeing through the security cameras that a cloaked figure is just destroying all of these Dark Troopers.
And it's Luke.
Yep, with green lightsaber and everything. Luke Skywalker.
If you couldn't figure out when the moment the X-Wing came in, you're like... You know by the moment the green saber comes in, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And I like how everyone online, even you said earlier, that Luke is very much like his dad.
Yeah, because because when Luke gets to the corridor, the hallway where the Mando and the rest of the group are in and protecting themselves in the door, he just like starts destroying all of these Star Troopers.
Rogue One at the end of...
Yeah, very reminiscent of the end of Rogue One, where Darth Vader just mows down an entire like group of rebels.
Honestly, the best scene in that whole film.
Yeah, so like I was like, I mean, I guess he is, Anakin's son. He mowed down all those people in that hallway,
just like he mowed down those younglings.
No, I mean it's a bit. I mean, listen, I don't think Anakin used the Force to crush a small child's like that. Their insides. Because, I mean, you can only do that to a droid, which did happen, which is like, my god.
I mean, you can just pick one up and throw out the window.
I mean...
Eat him like a G.
I mean, yeah, the Coruscant is a floating, the buildings are really up high, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, they're able to, Luke saves the day. He's like, I'm here for the kid. And we get to sort of the
touching moment.
The very touching moment. The bittersweet moment for Mando, where he's like, at first he's sort of like, I don't think he wants to go with you. He's like, he wants your permission for you to go, all right? Because like Luke and I think Mando know that like obviously like Grogu needs to like
needs a teacher.
Yeah, he needs a teacher. He needs to harness the Force, in order for him to be safe. So Mando picks up Grogu. He's like, listen, you gotta go. You're gonna be safe with him. And Grogu's he touches the helmet, and he's like, he takes off the helmet, and he gets to see him.
He's all teary-eyed too.
Yeah, and eventually, like, Grogu's still kind of like there on the ground holding his leg or whatever, and then R2-D2 shows up to like.
I swear to God.
Which I gotta be honest, that was like maybe the one part where I'm like, dude, like. Really? Well, like he obviously like eventually Grogu, does go with Luke, and Luke goes and takes him, and that's sort of where the episode ends. Where Mando sees off Grogu, being like, "I'll see you again one day." All right.
And then we get to the after credit scene.
Oh yeah.
Before we go to that, let me just say this. God damn it! I kind of wish it was someone else than Luke.
I mean, I get what you mean.
Yeah, I'm fine with Luke. I'm not upset. I'm not angry. But it's one of those things where, like, man, how cool it would have been if someone else, if like Ezra Bridger from Rebels or Cal Kesset from the Jedi Fallen Order game showed up, or like we said before, The Apprentice.
Yeah.
Galen Merrick.
Yeah.
Showed up. Like, how cool! Like, imagine all everything goes dark where the Dark Troopers are at, and all you see is like two blue lightsabers going ching, and he just like mows him down.
I mean, yeah, I agree that it would be a really cool like nod to like trying to make the Force Unleashed stuff canon again, or at least trying to fit them in like a new kind of canon. Like I get that, and also it would be kind of again a nice nod to like Rebels and the
fact that there's other Jedi out there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But at the same time, like, getting to see young Luke.
CGI Luke.
Yeah, CGI Luke. It's obviously, like, they use the same de-aging stuff that they did with...
Still needs work.
Yeah, I mean, it looks... I'm assuming for the budget they have for The Mandalorian, it looks pretty alright, right?
Yeah, I think that's where all the budget went, because there were moments where the budget looked a little
Well, I mean, when you get Robert Rodriguez to do direct an episode,
you're not gonna get that much CG.
I mean, no. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna assume that's half the reason why it's like you can work on a low budget, right? Like I think he made his first film with like $1,000 or something. So I mean, he's used to working with low budgets. But yeah, yeah. So like, I think he looks well. And the weird thing about the after credits, it still labels him as Mark Hamill. So did
he come back?
Yeah, that's what makes me wonder. Like, wait, was it just Mark Hamill like saying those lines, or did they retro? Because I won't lie, I feel like some of those lines, I feel like they just took from like various other takes of Mark Hamill that I guess were unused.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could be wrong. It could just have been like Mark Hamill saying those lines or
Because
something.
that is not Mark Hamill's body.
I mean, it's not. I mean, they probably did the same thing they did with like Princess Leia in Rogue One, where it's a different actress, but they essentially made the face look like, you know, young Carrie Fisher
With a little crooked eye there.
a little bit.
Mm.
I'll say this: I think young Leia in Rogue One looked a lot better than Tarkin in that movie.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah. So, and I think Luke looks fine for the amount of budget I assume this show has.
Yeah.
So, on the whole, good finale.
Good finale. And like I said earlier, we gotta talk about the after credit scene.
Yeah, the after credit scene.
Which you and I have had this discussion, and we'll get to that. But basically, Boba and Ming-Na Wen's character go back to essentially Jabba the Hutt's palace with, what is that dude's name who escapes me?
It was his translator, right?
Yeah, his translator. His translator has a name. I just can't remember it off the top of my head. I'm about to look it up.
Yeah. Like, he's essentially taken Jabba the Hutt's place as, like, I guess the leader of that palace. He even has a slave girl and everything.
Bib Fortuna.
Okay, Bid Fortuna.
I was like, I know that name off the top of my head.
Yeah, so, you know, he's gotten fat too, which I assume is because, you know...
Yeah,
he's just sitting around eating, like, stuff all day.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, Boba shows up, you know, Ming-Na Wen's character kills everybody except him, and then Boba just shows up, and he's like, Boba, I thought you were dead, how's it going, buddy? And he gets shot.
like a moment, like, I don't know why I immediately thought of something from Robot Chicken.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought, like, back from the dead, assholes.
Yeah, and then, you know, he takes his place on that little throne thing, and it's like, you know, it sets up like there's a little end card, the Book of Boba Fett, coming December 2021.
Which, okay, is it, a lot of people say it's an original show. Personally, I think, and I hope this is kind of is that the next Mandalorian season is about Boba. Make it an anthology of different Mandalorians.
I mean, that would be sort of an interesting way to take it. I mean, yeah, that like, because I mean, given the fact that, because on the one hand, like Mando's story, which Jin Dahan, I think his name is, right?
Yeah. Okay.
You know, he still has a bit of story left for him to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, the Darksaber stuff, he has to settle out, but there's still a lot of, you know, stuff that can be done with him. I mean, have they confirmed a third season for Mando yet, though?
I don't believe they have. I can double check.
Which I feel like could lend credence to the Book of Boba Fett being its own show. But I mean, you know, they're making a ton of Disney Plus shows. I mean, one, they announced the Ahsoka show with Rosario Dawson, which I was right about, because it's like, if you're gonna get Rosario Dawson to play a major character from Star Wars for just one episode, like, you clearly are gonna have her show up for like her own miniseries or whatever. And of course, the Obi-Wan show,
Season 3 is in the works.
Season 3 is in the works.
So we probably won't see it until maybe next year or the year after.
Yeah, so I mean, that could maybe lead
cadence to what I'm saying.
Cadence to, you know, maybe Book of Boba Fett being the third season. You know, be Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
because that's a weird title for a show.
Yeah, it kind of is a little bit, yeah. But yeah, it seems,
because you say Book of Boba, you think of Boba Tea.
Boba Tea.
Boba Tea.
Oh, Boba Tea. Oh,
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Not Booker T.
No, I was thinking about something else.
Okay.
But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, but like they're like, why wouldn't they do it? Like, they're bringing some more shows. You said like earlier, Ahsoka Tano's getting her own show. Obi-Wan's getting his own show with Hayden Christensen coming back, which shocked you.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, that means Darth Vader. What if they sprinkle in Garrett Miller in that show. What if he sent the apprentice to go after Obi-Wan?
Oh.
That'd be pretty wizard.
He in turn trains Scaling Knight. Ooh, I like that idea.
Yeah, all right, but yeah, no, the end credits sort of implies that I'm guessing Boba is essentially going to be doing some interesting bounty hunter stuff, which is kind of neat,
or like Kingpin stuff.
Yeah, which is I think super neat. I mean, obviously, I think I could see them doing is like maybe for like just standing talking roles, you'll have Boba like maybe without his helmet on or something, because we have seen him without the helmet at this point doing some stuff. But and I know the actor is a bit old, and I'm not sure if he was doing a majority of his action scenes. So you could just get like a stunt double under the mask and to do the more, I guess,
extravagant
action sequences. So which I think is like the one benefit of having Mandalorians, right?
Yeah.
If you have a person that doesn't necessarily have the skills to do a lot of like crazy live action choreography and stuff, then you can always just get a stunt double to wear the helmet.
Oh
yeah. But yeah, no, it's looking a bit.
I mean, either way, if the third season essentially is about Boba Fett, that'd be awesome. If we're getting our own show about Boba Fett, that's still pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially after he was supposed to get his own movie and that got sort of canned. So yeah, like it's gonna be that. I think that's a nice compromise that he gets his own Disney Plus show.
Yeah, I mean that's what they're basically doing with a lot of these characters, especially with Marvel.
Yeah, absolutely. The ones that they feel like they don't necessarily feel like they have the potential to hold their own movie, they just give them a Disney Plus show
with the production that is basically movie-like.
Yeah. So on the whole, I think things are looking bright for Star Wars on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm. So what would you give a rating for this episode?
This episode is like a 10 out of 10, dude.
I do not disagree with anything you just said.
Like it is
like everything, like all the negative that I've said was more personal for me than the actual,
It's not a mark on the quality of the episode.
No,
it's just your preferences.
It's just personal preference.
Yeah.
Especially like I said with like in the last episode. Personally, I would prefer if you did some cool like camera trickery to like make us not see his face. But you should, even though you should, I'm still pretty engaged.
Yeah,
I mean, if I'm gonna put personal feelings to like take off points in a movie, it has to be very effective. Like it really like soured my feelings for the movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Or show, whatever.
But yeah, no, it is just a banger to end this season off. It is just so good.
It is done as justice. So, as a season, Joey, what do you think?
As a season, looking at everything, I would probably rate it around a 9.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because some of those earlier episodes were okay, right?
Yeah,
we're getting back into the groove of things, and some of them were like, this is all right.
Mm-hmm.
But once we started getting the story momentum, especially with like the introduction of Boba Fett, and all these other things leading up to the finale, it's just like banger after banger after banger.
Oh hell yeah! I know, I agree. I think I'm right there with you. But I would put a 0.5 onto that because like for me, like it started off pretty slow, but that slowness was still enjoyable. Like like the first few episodes. I'm not saying that they were like 10 out of 10s. They were solid to like above average. But then we started, like you said, hitting that stride where we got banger after banger after banger. I think the last 4, maybe the last 5 episodes were just knocked out of the park.
Yeah, I could.
Holy shit, this was some good shit.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, especially like it does one of those things where, hey, this is fan service, but it's in a way that's not too overbearing or just in your face, like the most of the criticisms that a lot of people have with the sequel trilogy. And who knows, maybe as we go along, the sequel trilogy isn't as bad, considering the stuff that's centered around it.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that, right? Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's just a good. Yeah, I think Mando is just sort of like Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau. You gotta give them props. They know how to make good Star Wars, which is probably why I think Jon Favreau is making his own Star Wars movie, right?
Yeah, Jon Favreau said he's gonna make his own Star Wars movies. Dave Filoni, I think, is also involved in some aspect. But I mean, a lot of these shows feel like I feel like they're better planned.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it all works. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, they had a sort of a vision in mind for the series, and they've executed it on all fronts.
Mm-hmm. And like, say what you will about their treatment of the movies. For them, some of the people are like subpar to like bad to good, but they feel like placeholders kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like Han Solo and Rogue One, they feel like places. I mean, going back to Han Solo, they included stuff like what Darth Maul, and if you didn't know Darth Maul was alive, you'd be like, what? And Rogue One is just nothing but fan service.
Yeah.
But in a good way. In a good way.
In a good way. Yeah, in a good way.
Yeah, because like let's face it, like we see, like the corridor scene with Darth Vader. If that wasn't fan service, I don't know what was.
Yeah, that was like one of the. I think I remember hearing the director commentary. That was like one of the last things they shot because it was like, I feel like we should do some have Darth Vader just do something pretty, well, because we don't want him to obviously just be just standing and talking half the time. And it's like we just do like a quick like action scene with him. It's like, oh yeah, and that's like one of the most talked about moments in that movie.
It was so good.
Yeah, it's like, oh hell yeah, this is Darth Vadering it up.
The reason why we all love Vader.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll probably get more of that in the Obi-Wan show. And I feel like this is what Disney Plus needed, Mandalorian. Now we just need the rest of them to fall in line.
Yeah. I think it just shows that there's a huge potential for the rest of the Disney Plus original lineups for just like if they're on the same quality as Mando, I think Disney Plus is gonna be like rocking it.
Yeah, and for the most part, it was always Mando because a lot of the shows were either pushed back or delayed or scrapped. Because I heard one of the Liz McGuire stuff got scrapped.
Interesting.
So for a lot of people, it's always been Mandalorian is the only show I'm going to watch on there. Unless you're like me who rewatch all of The Simpsons. Good Lord Almighty.
Or you're just like really into like watching all the Disney, classics, I guess.
Yeah, and to be fair, Mandalorian is proven to be like one of the top tier quality shows that we had.
Mm-hmm.
And if, like I said, if now Disney needs to get the rest in line, holy crap!
Yeah,
we gonna be good for years.
Yeah,
because they need to make up for souring a lot of people with the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, and I think Mando is like that first big step.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Oh man, it's gonna be weird not talking about Mandalorian for the next few weeks.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Especially since we're taking a break.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all we have to say about Mandalorian. Is there anything else you want to add?
I got nothing else aside from being like, this is a good show. Go watch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll be probably back with something like, say, Wonder Woman, or I want to say by the time we get back that WandaVision is out.
Potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, and then we got more. Hopefully, we get more movies to review. Until then, thank you guys for taking the chance to listen to us. This has been a very enjoyable session that we had. Now, we used to do this with Watchmen. Now we're doing this again with Mandalorian. And these are fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I don't know. It's a lot more easy to do 2x2. That we have more time to talk about other stuff than like once a week kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we can come back with WandaVision and see how that turns out. We might mix it up with WandaVision. I don't know. Maybe just talk about the first episode and just go 2x2.
Yeah. That might work. Yeah,
that might work. Yeah, especially with the algorithm and all that good stuff. And we'll be back to talking about movies. But if you are watching this, by the time this is released, this is the last. It'll be Christmas time, New Year's. This is the last episode for the year, and what a way to end it with Mandalorian. If you guys enjoy what we do, you can follow us on social media through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Geek Centurions. And if you follow us on Instagram, you'll find a link tree that will lead you to all our podcasting sites that we are officially in, like CastBox, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, all that good stuff. And you'll be able to find our YouTube page where you can see us talking about it with our actual faces. Give a face to the voice. And once you're on YouTube, comment, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. You know how it is on YouTube. Help us not only get big there, but also get big in the Apple app, in the podcasting space. And we do have a Patreon set up where you can just help us with donations, all that kind of stuff, because we want to do more stuff. Sadly, we weren't able to do it much this year because of current events, but hopefully next year we got a lot more. We get to go back full swing and do a lot of the cool stuff that we wanted to do. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, all right. So it's been me, Joe.
And it's been your boy Eli. We have enjoyed The Mandalorian. Hopefully we will see the season 3 coming soon. And all we know is that this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. Anyways, this is Geek Centurions, and I hope you guys have a good one. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, all that good stuff. You guys be safe out there. Peace.